Greetings gamers, I'm Anto and welcome to the first campaign diary for my new game, The City-States of Ashk. This is a new campaign my gaming group and I just started, and it's set in the desert nation of Ashk that I've been developing for the last couple of years. This series will give you an overview of the last week's session and my behind the scenes thinking, and then over on my Patreon page you can get access to my session prep streams where I plan out the next adventure. So let's dive into it. This campaign takes place in the land of Ashk, which was once a mighty empire led by a group of great caliphs, but after the last caliph was betrayed by the mages, the country fell apart and is now a collection of city-states that control the surrounding area. This campaign is set over 200 years after my previous campaign, and the players will get to see the ramifications of some of their characters' actions in that first campaign in this one. Speaking of the player characters, let's introduce them. First up we have Hyena Orestote, a Samsaran sorcerer hailing from Sothska, a frigid land far south of Ashk across the sea. Hyena has come to Ashk in search of information of her strange ancestry. Hyena is blind, and although she's been granted a limited thermal vision thanks to her magic, this still puts her at a serious disadvantage, especially in the scorching sun of the Sea of Sand. Then we have Malakalathia, a lizard folk cleric who worships Alaria the Traveller, the goddess of twilight. Malak was born and raised in Ashk, so she is knowledgeable with the country's customs and practices. Then we have Eldon Shadowcloak, a gnome artificer and an Aparthian deserter. The Aparthian Empire has invaded northern Ashk and Eldon came with them. Once he saw the diversity in culture and beliefs in Ashk, he lost faith in the Empire's single-minded vision and he deserted. And then finally we have Yui. Yui is an Arakocra ranger who spent most of his life being kept as a slave. Yui very recently managed to escape from the city of Hadid and made his way to the city of Jabal where he first met Hyena. Our characters have come together to locate the tomb of the Jade Tyrant. Skylar Rana, a historian based in Azim, believes that she has found the location of the lost tomb and has put out a call to adventurers to travel to the tomb's location and recover the Jade Tyrant's journals. The Jade Tyrant is a well-known historical figure in Ashk culture who rose up against one of the great caliphs and, as a punishment, was cursed with an eternal life and locked away inside this tomb. As the first session began, I gave the players a monologue to set up the world and the adventure and get them in the zone for the campaign. I'll leave a link to that monologue in the description below. Our adventure begins with the player characters meeting up in the small river trading village of Sinir, where they quickly realise that spending 10 plus days walking through the desert is probably going to require more than a single water skin, so they visit a local merchant and picked up some more rations and some extra water. The trader sees them coming a mile away, this motley band of would-be adventurers, and once they admit to her that they need to buy water skins for their trip across the desert, she raises the prices. The players work out a deal with her for bulk purchasing, and they think they're getting a pretty good discount, but they still end up paying market price for everything. The economy and impact of supply and demand are going to be big factors in this campaign. There are areas of Ashk where a skin of water could cost you the same as a house. So after spending what little gold they have, the heroes head out into the desert and very quickly realise that between the oppressive heat and Hyena's vision, they can't really travel during the day and need to start travelling at night. So they spend the next few days travelling and learning about one another before they arrive in the Aladud Mountains. As dawn breaks, they begin to make their way up the mountain pass that leads to the tomb, and they notice tracks from a car and footfalls from some sort of beast of burden. They're not the first group to arrive at the tomb. Fearing they may have already missed out on the precious loot, Eldon sets off at a run up the mountain pass with the others following. As they get further up the pass, they hear the sound of hyenas laughing and a man calling out in pain. Turns out another group of adventurers have already arrived at the tomb, but something has gone terribly wrong, and the heroes find one of them injured, slumped against a car outside the tomb entrance. The mule that was pulling the cart is dead, and the man is weakly fending off a pack of emaciated-looking hyenas. Eldon, not wanting to waste any time before saving this guy, and more importantly, getting closer to the loot, springs into action and fires his crossbow at the closest hyena. The party make short work of the beasts and rush to stabilise the wounded man, Yusuf Mahab. Yusuf is part of a 5-person group that came here for the same reason as our heroes, to recover the text from inside the tomb and clear the tomb out. And Yusuf tells the heroes that things were going well in the tomb until their half-orc companion Krask opened one of the sarcophagi and disturbed the undead. The undead broke out of their chambers and began to attack this rival party. Yusuf became separated from his friends during the escape and was stabbed by one of the skeletons. He managed to shut the door on the skeleton and crawl outside, but his screams attracted the hyenas. The rival party is something I really wanted to include in this first adventure to show the players that they're not alone in this world, and that there are other people with similar agendas to them out in the world, and that if the players ignore an adventure opportunity, it's not going to sit there and wait for them to come back. Someone else is going to go and do the thing that they have passed up on. So our heroes dress Yusuf's wounds and drag him into the entrance of the tomb to shelter before they head into the tomb itself. Now the first room has been set up as a kind of staging area and contains bedrolls, a campfire and some general supplies, and they see two doors, one leading east and the other leading west, and the west one appears to be jammed. Eldon examines the jammed door and uses his crowbar to free the piton, keeping it closed. As soon as the door is unstuck, it swings open and a skeleton wielding a scimitar made of polished jade attacks him. Now my players are coming hot off the heels of a level 20 Pathfinder campaign, so rolling attacks as level 1 characters in 5th edition was really painful for them. It took the 4 of them 4 turns to kill a single skeleton, and most of the damage was done by Hyena, even though she gets disadvantage on all of her attack rolls. But eventually they're able to defeat the skeleton and press on into the tomb until they reach the sacrifice pit. When this place was built, the Great Caliph sacrificed hundreds of traitor soldiers in a bargain with Koros, the goddess of death, so that she would grant the Jade Tyrant and his most trusted lieutenants eternal life for their imprisonment. At some point in the past, the walls of this chamber have become broken and the chamber has flooded, and where there was once stairs descending the 75 feet or so into the pit, now there's just a pool of water filled with the dead. The rival party have set up rope bridges across the ruined platforms in this room, but a section of the bridge has collapsed, and the heroes can see Mina, a halfling woman, sitting on one of the pillars trying to stay safe from the group of skeletons circling the pillar at the bottom of the flooded pit. Yui flies over to Mina and brings her to safety, and she tells the players that Krask, the rival party's half-orc barbarian, did indeed open one of the sarcophagi and unleash the undead in his eagerness to find the loot. Mina fled back towards the entrance with Yusuf and another woman named Leandra, and as they were crossing the rope bridge, one of the skeletons cut the rope, causing Mina to become stranded and the skeletons following them to fall into the water. The party send Mina back to the entrance and cross the flooded pit room. Yui carries Sienna across and Malak quickly swims the distance, avoiding the skeleton. Eldon, however, insists on jumping the chasm and gets about halfway before slipping and falling into the water. Yui throws down a rope and saves him before his heavy gear can drag him down to the waiting skeletons. With Eldon safe, the entire party make their way towards the next room, which has this huge statue of Taklas in the middle of it. Now, Taklas is the Herald of Decay and a key figure in the religion of Koros and the religion of death. Mina the halfling had told the party that she was in the process of trying to prise the eyes out of this statue when all the trouble started, so naturally the first thing Eldon does is to climb up there and try and take out the eyes. There are 2 doors in this room, one leading to the Jade Tyrant's actual tomb and another door which the party tries to open first. Malak, the lizard folk cleric, flings open the door and just about manages to dodge out of the way of a spell fired off by Alam Zaki, leader of the rival party. Alam tells the heroes that things were going well until Krask, the half-orc barbarian, opened the Jade Tyrant sarcophagus and unleashed all the undead. He and the others fled, and he locked himself in this embalming chamber. Alam, it turns out, has the key to the tomb room though, and he's able to negotiate on one of Taklas's eyes in exchange for it. There was this great moment where the players place the eye on a corner of a podium and Alam places the key on the opposite corner, and they sort of rotate around the room to make the trade. Once Alam has the eye, he backs off down the corridor that leads out of the tomb, facing the players the whole time, giving this impression that this isn't the first time he's done something like this. Alam is definitely going to become a recurring character in this campaign, working towards the same goals as the party and coming into conflict with them, and I'm really excited to develop that specific rival party relationship. After Alam leaves, the players realise he's taken something of value from the embalming room, including some rings off the hand of a half-embalmed corpse and some kind of blade, judging by the death markings on the table. But armed with the key, the heroes unlock the tomb room and enter to see Krask stood over Akdir Masak, the Jade Tyrant's sarcophagus. He turns to them and they see his eyes are glowing green, and he's armed with the Jade Tyrant's axe. It's initiative and battle begins. Krask has been possessed by the spirit of the Jade Tyrant thanks to an amulet that he took from the tomb and put on. So I spent the first couple of rounds trying to draw the hero's attention to this, clue them into what's going on. I described the amulet glowing, how his wounds don't seem to affect him, and I gave him a special action to recover hit points by absorbing his minions' powers. In the early rounds, Eldon is wounded and asks Malak to heal him, but she refuses, saying that she's saving her spells. Yui, the Aarakocra Ranger, spends a few turns aiming arrows at the amulet and eventually breaks it, which causes Krask to collapse and all of his wounds to reopen. So Malak casts a healing spell to keep Krask from dying, and Eldon can't believe that she would heal the enemy but not him. Now, should Malak have healed Eldon instead? Maybe, but I'm interested in what you think. I'll put a poll up here. With Krask down, the skeletal remains of the Jade Tyrant pull themselves out of the sarcophagus and join the battle. The very next round, Eldon goes down, adding further insult to injury. But Malak actually uses some healing on him this time, keeping him in the fight. Now, thanks to Hyena's Bless spell, the Jade Tyrant can't hit the players enough to kill anyone, but several of them get bloodied during the fight. In the last round of the combat, Malak uses her bonus action to make a bite attack against the Jade Tyrant, which deals just enough damage to kill him, and I describe Malak receiving these visions of the Jade Tyrant's past, representing the magic of the spell, keeping the Jade Tyrant undead, sort of breaking. Once the Jade Tyrant is defeated, they recover his journals, loot the surrounding rooms, and head back to the entrance of the tomb, with the injured Krask in tow, stopping along the way to check the path that they didn't take on their way in. Here they find a room that used to be a chapel. It's been barred from the inside, but the room is now empty. A candle is lit in the corner, and there are signs of a struggle that lead to a large hole burrowed into the corner of the room. It seems as though the last member of the rival party, Leandra, barricaded themselves in this room and was snatched by some kind of monster. This is another example of the consequences of character's choice. If they'd come here first, Leandra the elf woman would have been here and would have still been alive. But instead, the room is empty and Leandra has been lost. Consequences are a big theme in my games. Almost every choice the players make ripples out, and sometimes it takes a long time for them to see the results of their action. The session ended with the players exiting the tomb and finding that Alam Zaki and the other surviving members of the rival party had already left, leaving Krask and our heroes for dead. Tonight I expect the players to head off from the tomb site, across the Sea of Sand and back towards the city of Azim to claim their reward. During the journey, they're going to discover that the oppressive sun and heat are far from the most dangerous things in the desert, as they are pursued by the Black Claw Raiders, one of the most notorious tribes that wander the Sea of Sand. I really hope that you've enjoyed this campaign diary. Please let me know what you think of it down below, because this is a very new format for me. If these videos are well received, you can expect regular installments chronicling the exploits of our heroes. Don't forget, if you'd like to see my session prep notes and get access to a whole bunch of other stuff, you can find them over on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, because it really helps to get YouTube to put the videos in front of new people. But until next time, happy gaming. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all my new releases. I release new videos every other Friday. You'll find more videos just over here, and if you enjoy what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Just $5 a month gets you access to loads of extra content to use in your RPG campaigns. But until next time, happy gaming.